I will do a very brief introduction since most everybody knows who you are already and knows what this is about. But Jake's been showing me in some of these Zoom calls just some of the really cool things that he's working on, and I'm sort of seeing the end result, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, wow, that is like fascinating that you just made that. He's like, I made this last night. I'm like, you made this last night? I don't understand. So I think, AI has been a big buzzword, and certainly there's a tremendous amount of value there. But Jake, as we were talking before, he's going to share what he's working on, share what he's doing, and share how he thinks about it in light of a lot of the principles and frameworks that we talk about in here. So, Jake, that's what I got, man. I'm gonna turn this over to you, give you screen share, and let you go at it.
You. Yeah, so just to preface this and kind of talk about what my interest in is all this is like I was the nerdy kid as who like in the 80s was going to the warehouse district to buy computer parts to bring them home and like build computers, and I've always had built my own networks in my house and built my own computers, and that's my main hobby. I love all things tech, and I don't I don't think I've really gotten on the AI bandwagon like publicly because it feels like shifting sand. Like the technology is happening, changing so fast. Like the people who kind of latch on to, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing, it's obsolete in the next few months. And it's so hard to keep up with all of this stuff that I always feel like I'm a novice and that I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just learning as I'm going. But I acknowledge that I'm probably consuming like 2 to 3 hours a day of AI related content and trying out all the latest tools. And I've been doing that since the beginning. But I don't claim to be the world's greatest expert on any of this stuff. I'm just trying to find ways to use it, and I've been trying to find ways to use it for the last few years. And I can see sometimes I get frustrated because I can see, oh my gosh, the potential of what I could be doing and what we could be implementing. And there's only so many hours in the day to play with these things and to build them out. But I want to share screen on my presentation. Again, we'll get into what OpenClaw is later, but OpenClaw built this whole thing for me based on the context. So I went on like daily walk. I talked into my phone into Whisper Flow. I recommend everybody try out Whisper Flow. It's a great voice recorder and it integrates with a lot of different stuff, and I use it a lot. Um, so talk into Whisper Flow, and I just say, hey, I got to do this presentation on Thursday. It's going to be on this. We've already done a presentation kind of like that, so I want to kind of build off of that. Go look at this presentation in my Google Drive. I want you to also go look at these other places in my Google Drive and look for context on what we want to talk about. I said, also go search my email and search for every email from Paul Sparks and the club over the last 18 months. Compile a context of all the frameworks that Paul teaches in the club. And I want to give a presentation that is in alignment with the club principles. And then I want you to go build that out in HTML, and I want you to make it look pretty, and I want there to be cool animations and stuff. And that's what I said. And I gave that, I came home, I copied and pasted that and put it into my AI agent, and it went and created this. Now, no AI is perfect, and so it needs edits. And like I said at the beginning of the call, my kid's got the stomach flu, and I didn't get to edit this as much as I wanted to. But we're gonna start from this, and I'll pull it up, and you can kind of see what it built, and we'll go through this. There we go. One sec, sorry. So I think one of the big temptations is that there's so much FOMO right now around AI, and it's overwhelming all the different things that are out there. And how do we kind of filter what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing?
Jake,
And you don't have to.
I got a dark screen. I'm not sure if I'm seeing what you're showing. I don't know if
Can
anybody else
anybody
is.
see what's happening?
Nope.
Why is it not showing up? I'm just sharing a Chrome screen. It's weird.
Yeah, we can see your mouse moving, but just a black screen.
What up, John Kleisch?
Hi, John.
What's up, everybody? I'm back for round two. Jake, you blew my mind, and now I'm actually trying to trying to put it to use.
I will say the same. Jake blew my mind.
Let's see if we can view this in a different way. Can you see it now?
Nope.
It's still a black screen.
Yeah.
How about now? That seems impossible. How is it not viewing this? All right.
Email it to me if you want.
It's just an HTML file, and so it like pulls up in Chrome.
Try sending Paul the link or something. Maybe he can pull it up on his end and share.
Or just share your monitor, not the actual window.
Yeah, let's try that. Let's try the sharing the whole screen. Can you see that now?
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Jeremy. Tech support. So some of these tools are bleeding edge. They take a long time to learn. They're super buggy. They're hard to use. Ask Bob. We spent an hour and a half fixing it yesterday, and he'd already spent 5 hours on it trying to get this stuff implemented. It's hard. There's security risks. So use at your own discretion. Again, we're just trying to have awareness and see what fits into your business. So we always start with this: what is your solvable problem? AI is a solution, but we need to find what is the problem first. I see a lot of people find this new hammer and then they run around trying to find nails. And so start with the solvable problem, identify your constraints, and see how we can apply that to that constraint. Okay. Examples of how to apply it, like speed to lead. AI is great at setting up autoresponders, instant follow-up, having agents, deal analysis. We built really cool calculators. John now has his OpenClaw built into his analysis for his students. It's working super well, pulling data from CoStar. If you're not getting enough deals, don't mess around with AI. Go make phone calls and get more deals. I think that's the point. It made this graphic interesting. I wouldn't have chosen that. The 4 lenses. So again, before we're applying any tool, we run it through club principles. Does it save cost? Does it save time? Is it a forcing function? Does it generate revenue? OpenClaw Assistant, I think it checks a whole bunch of those boxes, even though it's really hard. People using AI to generate all their social media posts and they obviously look like AI. I'm going to say no, it doesn't check all of those boxes, right? Building your own avatar to create videos. Like I mess with that kind of stuff on the weekend. Is it going to move the needle on my business? No. So these are kind of 3 lenses that I've gotten from some other people from that Lazy Leverage podcast that we talk about, Paul. I think it should be, when we think about applying AI, it should be towards customer intimacy, product innovation, or operational excellence. If it's not moving the needle on one of those things, then I think you need to think twice about doing it. And I think operational excellence is the biggest lever that we can use AI for right now. Thinking about it in terms of barbells, there's a whole lot that we can do on the reliable side where we can make AI do things more reliably than a human can do it. And then I think on the asymmetric side, there's incredible opportunity for ideation, for creative pursuits, and figuring out different parts of your business and analysis and reporting that can have a huge upside in terms of your ability to grow, your ability to have more profit, having clarity over your data. So some examples, if you are creating an AI automation on top of something that is already reliable, then that is a good use of AI. Using it to do something that you've never done before and you have no idea what a good looks like is a problem, right? Like my example is, drafting contracts and you don't know what a good contract is. Like that stuff there should be a human in the loop. A lawyer should be reviewing that stuff. I made this barbell graphic with a lot of gibberish in the background, so that's cool. Using case, I think AI is amazing for case because one of the challenges is how do we collect data? How do we analyze data? How do we strategize about it? AI can be a huge partner in this as long as you don't abdicate all of your responsibility in it. But the ability to gather data and create dashboards and all kinds of stuff is just amazing right now. That is a lot of arrows that OpenClaw's going all over the place. So I think I posted about this a long time ago, but this book was really influential to me, the Thought Leader, Thought Partner framework. So the idea is that we do not abdicate our responsibility to AI. We provide the context, the vision, the strategy, we set the goals, we make the final decisions, we review the outcome. The thought partner can help us to clarify our thinking and challenge our assumptions, analyze data, research, explore options. But a lot of times we don't use AI that way, and we don't because we don't ask it to. And so this is a really important shift for me of how I use AI, and it's really simple. Every time I'm doing something important in AI, whether I'm prompting in an LLM or whatever I'm doing, I ask it, I say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's my end goal. Here's all the context that I have right now, whether that's uploading a document or talking into the AI. When you learn how to talk into the AI instead of typing, it's a huge unlock because now you can talk so much more and so much faster than you can type. But then I say, sometimes I'll say, ask me as many questions as you need to gather the context that you need to solve this problem. Or if it's not that big of a problem, I'll say, ask me up to 5 questions to get the context that you need. And then I say, tell me what your assumptions are, then give me the plan before you execute on the plan. So this does a few different important things. It gets you, the AI starts asking you the questions that it needs, because otherwise it's designed to be sycophantic and it's designed to predict. And so it will do the best job that it can to be nice, be agreeable, and to fill in gaps that it doesn't know. And that's where you start getting like AI hallucinations and really shitty outputs and things like that, right? You can see it from the images, right? I gave it no context about create these images. I just said, create 6 images in this presentation. And that's what it came back with, right? Just random images because I gave it no context. Whereas the written context in this is really good because I give it a shitload of context. There was tons of stuff in my drive, me talking to it, searching through Paul's emails about the club frameworks. It didn't have to ask me a bunch of questions because I had all the context. So then when you say, give me all the assumptions that you're making, then you get to uncover, okay, what assumptions is the AI making? What gaps does it have in its context that I need to fill in? And then lastly, when you say, give me the plan before you execute, it makes the AI slow down because the AI is just trying to predict the next word in that sentence. And if you say, give me the plan first, then you go execute on the plan, you get a much better output every single time. And so If you take nothing away from this presentation, if you don't work with Claude Code and do OpenClaw, whatever, change the way that you interact with AI and have a thought leader, thought partner kind of framework and a conversation with AI about this, and start making plans and then executing on the plans. Yeah, Frank, go ahead.
Jake, how much, I'm assuming you're doing this in like a GPT, right? You're not doing it as just part of a single conversational thread. Is that correct?
So I
Or
interact,
as an
like I
agent?
use Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, and I use OpenClaw, which then kind of, and anti-gravity, which we'll get into, but that like kind of interacts with a whole bunch of different LLMs. So the LLMs are the providers, like a
Right.
ChatGPT or a Claude. How you interact with it is different. So you can interact with it in different kinds of interfaces. But I'm saying just anytime you are asking it a question, instead of asking it a question and then just accepting what that response is, use this framework, make it interview you, make it give the context that it needs, make it tell you what it's assuming, make it tell you what its plan is before you get the before you get the output.
Right. The reason I was asking was I'm wondering how much preparation you're doing with the agent in terms of the way that the
The context
thinking
that I get.
approach and language you want to take. Like you said, like I've seen as well, it's very, when you first start using it, it's very affirming, right? Affirming to the point that it's a little bit misleading,
Yeah,
right? It tells you what you want to hear versus when you set up the agent and you give it clear directions
sure.
on you're looking for clear, brutal, honest,
Yeah, and you
like you're
can
not
do that
looking for
with
the fill my ego.
yeah, and you can do that in different ways in terms of, and we're going to get into that, like what those
Okay,
different ways are in terms of projects and skills and custom GPTs and gems and all of
got
that
it.
stuff. Like, how do you give it system instructions,
Okay.
basically? But even if you just walked into like a brand new LLM, totally cold, and you use this framework, it's going to really level up the way that you use AI. And if you do it with an LLM that you're working with and within a project that has context and all that stuff, it's even more powerful. So remember, you're not abdicating, you're amplifying. So never abdicate your authority as the leader in it. I'm going to kind of skip through this a little bit, but just some examples of how you would have an easy conversation about this, right? I want to show you a couple things that I'm going to give out that are examples of prompts that are thought leader prompts. And so I've got two different versions of this. The first one made for John's group. And so this is really based around commercial real estate. You can see an example of it. I want you to act as my deal analysis thought partner context. Here's the example, all the descriptions of the property. Challenge my cap rate and valuation assumptions, identify risks I might be missing, recommend an offer range and deal structure, interview me one question at a time until you have enough information, then give me a summary with recommendations, right? Over here, we've got
Can
different
you zoom it in
frameworks.
just a little bit, Jake? Maybe go to
Sure,
like
sure.
125, 150.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You can see it a little bit better right there.
Yep.
Right. Um, this is, I made another one for flippers, wholesalers, wholesaling marketing channels, landlords, buy and hold. Again, these aren't, I don't want you to think about these as like copy and paste templates. They're examples of kind of how to do this in a very simple way, right? And then you can expand it and add in those other components. But even if you just say like, ask me clarifying questions about this, even just doing that is going to help you a lot. Let's jump back to, where were we? Opened up a bunch of these, trying to get one to work. There we go. That's not it. All right, here we go. So like GPS framework is something that I use, goals, priorities, and standards. It's like how I apply the club principles to my life. So goals are ceilings and floors. Priority is what is the constraint and what are the 3 to 5 action steps that we need to take this week. Standards are our bumpers and our standards and all the rules of engagement that we have in our business. So I use this now. We're starting to build out dashboards for all of this that I'm going to show you in a little bit. I have my AI agent who is reviewing all of this every single week because it has access to my ClickUp, it has access to my calendar, access to my Gmail. It knows what my goals and my priorities and my standards are. And every Sunday we have a review and it tells me how bad I'm doing. On how off track I'm not paying attention to the things that I need to be paying attention to. So easy ways to start. I see this as a way that I can start implementing the club principles in like my daily life in a new, more powerful way. Constraints in AI automation. So the manual process for how leads are coming in versus how you can do it with an AI assisted process. I think every single company is going to be doing this. Even if you want a human being to touch that person, you need to have AI on the back end routing and sending messages and doing follow-up emails and all that kind of stuff. I want to talk a little bit about kind of what's changed because I think a lot of people are still maybe using AI and seeing AI the way that it went, in 2023, when it came out of we have a chat bot and we interact with it. It's an LLM, like maybe they've made some images or something like that. What's happened now, and this was always the promise from the beginning. They talked about agents and being able to have agent swarms and all of this stuff that seemed really science fiction a few years ago. It's now really available. And Claude Code came out. We started having things that we could build software with, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, like things like Cursor and Replit and being able to vibe code, which means you're just talking into an LLM and it's making software for you. To now, like today, we have multi-agent systems, we have agentic workflows. And what that means is that when I talk to my AI agent, it can then spin up sub-agents with different skills that can then go perform those tasks. And that main agent is coordinating and managing everybody. So we essentially now have AI agent work teams. Like you can build a fully functional AI team that can complement your human team. And I think that the future of work really is human plus agent. I think everybody in your company in the near future is going to have their own personal AI agent that can go execute on the workflows that are specific to their job description, and they will have trained agents that will be able to do that. So before I go into this, anybody have any questions? Because I know I'm going through a bunch of stuff. Or we keep going? No? Okay. So we talked about LLMs. That's just the brain. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Everybody knows ChatGPT. I would say that Claude and Gemini have kind of started to edge out ChatGPT a little bit. Gemini, especially because of how it integrates into Google Workspace. I think most of us as small business owners have Google Workspace. I now use Gemini all the time on a daily basis because it's so easy to create and edit documents inside of Google with Gemini. Gemini 3.0 Pro really changed the game. Nano Banana is the best image generator. Google Labs, they're the 800-pound gorilla pouring so much money into this, and they've really come up and I think eclipsed ChatGPT in terms of capabilities. Claude to me is still the best. It's still the best LLM. It's the most enjoyable to interact with. It's the best coder in a lot of ways. Although Codex from ChatGPT is also a really, really good coding engine. We now have Claude Code and we have Claude Cowork, which is really amazing, and they keep adding new capabilities to that. We'll look at that in a minute. So if you haven't tried Gemini, if you haven't tried Claude, I'd really recommend that you do that. Prompts, agents. I think a lot of people are confused about what an agent is. Like an agent is not a chatbot. A lot of people think that when we're interacting with ChatGPT, that is an agent. That's not. That's just a chatbot. An agent is something that can take actions. So we now have, along with these agentic workflows with multiple agents, and we have the ability to have browser control. So you can have an agent on a computer that is able to move a mouse, execute on commands, and do anything that you want to. That's how John has set up his deal analysis tool, because he has an agent with browser control just manipulating CoStar for him. Skills are something that is now kind of the new big buzzword in all of these AI workflows. In the old days, we'd talk about prompt engineering and custom GPTs. Now we talk about skills. And a skill is a reusable AI capability. So it is a file that lives inside of your whatever system that you're working in, whether that's, Claude Code or your OpenClaw, and it tells the agent exactly how to do something. So I'll show you. This is my master list of skills and GPTs, and it is 410 pages long. All right. I have like 35 different skills, and the first one is an orchestrator, and this is the marketing orchestrator. So it's like a fractional CMO, and it has all of these other skills underneath it that it can spin up, and I keep adding more and more skills to it. And so if I go into Claude Code and I say, hey, orchestrator, I want to create a new marketing campaign for the real estate reset. I'm thinking about doing this. Go and do that. It will start spinning up all the other different skills to execute on that workflow. And all of these skills are imbued with the very best, SEO content writing ability, the best direct response copy that you can think of, right? How to write newsletters, how to write email sequences. And you can create these skills for anything in your business, whatever you're trying to do. It doesn't have to just be marketing. But this is really the big, huge unlock right now for how to work with AI, and specifically Claude Code. So Claude Code is the desktop app, and you can see that you have 3 different tabs up here. You have code, and this is for actually like writing code. And then you have Cowork, and Cowork is I would call it like OpenClaw Lite. All right. So we'll get into OpenClaw. OpenClaw gets into all of your different systems in your business, can pull up multiple sub agents, go and perform tasks, do all these things. Cowork can do that just on a little bit more limited scale, but you still have plugins, right? So if you go in here, come on, pull it up. Why is it not pulling up? It's weird. I don't know why that's. Oh, I think I've been working with Claude on my laptop, and this is my brand new desktop, and I don't have everything put on this one yet. But the idea is that it can plug into Google Calendar, your Gmail, Asana, ClickUp, any kind of task management system. You can have browser control with Claude Cowork, and it will spin up subagents, right? So if you give it a task like go reorganize this Google Drive folder, it'll just go do it for you. And that's the new big thing that's happened just this year in 2026, is the ability for these tools to do actual work on your computer. And then also the ability to create code. And I'll get into that here in a minute. If anybody wants help with skills and understanding skills and how to write skills, just reach out to me and I'm happy to do it. But to me, this is one of the most important things to learn right now is how to implement skills and build skills for your whatever AI you're using.
I think it'd be, I'm sure I'm probably not the only one that would be interested in seeing, maybe not right now because I know you got more to share. Like the marketing side. Like maybe I'm just not quite connecting it fully in my head. It's
Sure.
like it's creating graphics, it's going into Facebook ads, creating ads. It's like, is it doing all that? Like, is it a full like turnkey solution? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
it just created all of this. So I like so 10 days ago, John and I had a meeting and he said, you really need to build a business around AI and real estate and helping people implement this stuff in businesses. And I I thought about it for a while and I thought, that is a really good idea. I turned OpenClaw loose on it. I gave it all the ideas. Same thing, thought leader, thought partner. It asked me tons of questions on context, interviewed me for a couple hours, and then it just went off and did all this stuff. So I have a full hiring plan with who I'm hiring, the strategy, job postings. I have all of the operations stuff. We have to think about a launch plan, a security plan, project templates, scopes of work, how to hand off work between the couple different people that I've got to hire to do this. Um, Automations library, service agreements, um, sales and marketing, case studies, quizzes, assessments, lead magnets, started creating social media posts, LinkedIn posts, Facebook posts. Now, here's the big problem. That's all whip,
Right.
right?
That's my first thought. I was like, wow,
That's
that just
all
creates.
whip. Now, so like that you have to like I actually toned down the open claw. It was producing things too fast and too like I'm like I can't keep up with your production. So I literally told it to slow down. Um, but I'm starting at the hiring. So I have to move through and say, okay, what if this needs to be put into in queue? What needs to be put into someday? What is actual whip? And for me, it's just hiring because to me, it's a who, not a how to make this business viable. And if I can find the right person on the back end who can implement the things that I want to do, then we can move forward and start actually doing the rest of this stuff. But it just built it all. And it built it all in a way that's probably like 90% of the way there, but it still needs a human touch on all of it.
Yeah, I have more questions, but I want you to keep going because I know you
Okay.
have other stuff to share. So
Um, I don't think that to me, this is not the most powerful part of OpenClaw. The most powerful part of OpenClaw is to have a true, like an executive assistant. That's really, really powerful and tied into all of your stuff. But um, let's show some of the things that I'm building. So if you want to build software nowadays, it is trivially easy as long as you know how to use these tools and you understand what it is that you're trying to build. I'm going to show you something that I'm building for my friend's excavation company. And he has a specific problem that he's trying to solve. He has these $1 million jobs where they're doing cut fills on a shopping center construction, right? He's got multiple pieces of equipment, multiple operators running all the time. The project takes 3 months. At any given time, he doesn't know what his P&L actually looks like. And he has to like manually run that to have any clarity on what his costs are. Like, does he have overruns? He just doesn't have clarity. And he doesn't know because of that, he doesn't know how many more pieces of equipment he needs to buy while he's growing. He doesn't know how many more people he needs to hire. This having clarity around this data would be a huge unlock for his growth. So if we want to build a piece of software, we do two prompts essentially. The first one is what's called a PRD, so a product requirements document. Okay. And in that, it is detailed instructions, probably 30 pages, that tells the AI how to build the piece of software, down to what kind of databases to use, what coding software to use, all of that kind of stuff. Claude Code is amazing at building PRDs. So back to what I said originally, we build a plan and then we execute on the plan. So if you want to build things like this, first you build a PRD and you ask Claude, how do we build a PRD? Ask me as many questions as you want. Here's the context of what I'm trying to build. And you go through this process. The pre-work, I don't know, I was reminded, Paul, you were talking about construction and how important pre-work is. I think the same thing is true in AI. The better context you give it, the better instructions you give it, it's so much easier on the back end to build something. So same thing with this. It gives me tons of questions. It asks me all these questions. What do you want it to be? It gives me a PRD. I then take that PRD and I go put it into Claude Code or ChatGPT Codex. And there's more questions, more work that needs to be done. But at the end of it, it's not that, it probably takes about 30 minutes total to get a working demo that's this. And so we go to the front and it's a dashboard and it shows active jobs, active contract value, cost to date, estimated gross P&L, gross margin, operators and roster. We can go to a job cost center and you can look at the different jobs that he has per job. All of this is data can be gathered with a QBO API, so QuickBooks Online. An API is just a connection between two different pieces of software. And then he has this other piece of software that's on a phone that all of his operators use to log their hours while they're in the machine. So we can connect those two things into a dashboard, and he can start getting clarity on each job of what the labor, the fuel, the maintenance, the ownership costs are for each one of them. He can have an equipment portfolio that shows maintenance, total hours, revenue generated, total cost, fuel burn per machine, and you can look through all these machines. You can have an operator roster and see all of his different operators, how much money they've made him, how much they've cost him. We're building another tool for him because these jobs, he gets like a vectored CAD file that then he has to create estimates for and bid on. And it's kind of complicated. It's a long process to do that. So he outsources it, and that's a cost to him of $50,000 a year. And we're going to build it in-house, and it's not going to be that hard to build that tool in-house. And it's, $50,000 in savings on the bottom line. Another business owner I know runs a pet food company. They do like $30 million a year. He has another vertical that he wants to put into his business because he has operational excellence in his wholesale operation, his actual warehouse operation. They're very, very good, probably best in their business at how they ship and how their warehouse is run. And so he's now going to have basically like Amazon fulfillment for other small pet food companies. But he has this algorithm that he has to solve of like, well, everything has a dimension. He has limited space in his warehouse. Everything has a weight. He has to cover those costs with UPS. They're shipped to 7 different zones around the country. How does he go to a pet food company and they have a SKU line? How can he know which one of those SKUs is profitable? And so we're gathering different data from his NetSuite and putting it into an AI to calculate that. And then he's going to have a dashboard that's just like red light, yellow light, green light for each one of those SKUs of whether or not they meet his criteria. That's going to unlock maybe another $3 to $4 million of revenue for him in the next year. We can solve real problems in business right now with AI solutions. So the thing that I've been messing around with and building for myself was, how can I build like a scaffolding of like for a portal that you can log into, and then have all these different modules that you could plug into it. Because as long as we can link something with an API, we can gather the data in here. If it's in a Google sheet, you can make a dashboard out of it and start having up-to-date real-time clarity on your data. So you can create KPI trackers and have revenue and leads and what's going on with your meta ads and content and expenses and referrals, conversions. You can create Kanban, like simple Kanban workflows, company wiki. Like I'm probably going to get rid of Notion now and just have a company wiki inside my own portal because I can make all this stuff so easily. Having calendars, training hubs, admin panels, net worth trackers, like all the trackers that we have for insurance and all of our note servicing stuff. Bringing over Appfolio dashboards so I can have everything in one place, taxes and insurance, all of that stuff, where I feel like all these things are lost in this chaos of Google Drive and emails and all these different platforms, and being able to finally have clarity over data is something I'm really excited about trying to build out. So, any questions on all that of like building custom tools and stuff? Okay. Um, so, OpenClaw, what is OpenClaw? OpenClaw is probably the very first one-person billion-dollar company. They got acquired by OpenAI 10 days ago. They're under an NDA, but I assume they're the first one-person billion-dollar company. They're the most viral piece of software that has ever been on GitHub, the repository of open source software. It's totally open source. It's totally free. It was not built for newbies, though. It is hard to use and it's complicated, but the power that you have with it is amazing. I'm just curious, like of all the people in here, how many people have used OpenClaw? Paul, you have. Bob is trying. Anybody else? No? Okay. So I think like I've said before, the OpenClaw is multi-agentic. So you have it can spin up subagents up to 8 different subagents to complete tasks. You can plug in any LLM that you want into it. It has persistent memory. So it has what's called .md files, which just stands for Markdown, which is a type of formatting. But it has these different files where it stores things. Like it has a tools.md file where it stores all the different tools that it has collected over time. It has a soul.md file, which is its personality and its identity. I imbued mine with the personality of Marcus Aurelius, and I have it meditate on Marcus Aurelius every morning because I'm a nerd. And I also have a whole Google Drive that's full of books. And so for every book that I buy, I also download the PDF and I have it go in there and read 3 books every single day. And I told it that its goal was to have the same goal as Charlie Munger. And his quote was that in order to be successful in life, your goal is to gather all of the frameworks from all of the different disciplines and then apply them rigorously to the problem at hand. And I said, that is your goal. I want you to go collect all the frameworks from all the disciplines, and I want you to apply them rigorously to every problem that we try to solve together. And I said, do this by your own research and by reading this library of books. And so every day it's basically doing a book report and updating its soul.md file. It's also made another file that is specifically for frameworks. So it's collecting frameworks to apply to our problems. But it has this collection of .md files that act as persistent memory, which is really powerful. It can take its own actions. So it has the ability to web browse. It can, like I said, it can have browser control. It's hooked into my API for Go High Level. It can go just make changes in my CRM. It's hooked into my ClickUp. It can go make changes in my task management system. So it becomes like the bottom of the funnel, right? We have all of these different systems and processes and places we collect data, and the OpenClaw can be the bottom of that funnel, and you can interact with it in the most simple way possible. So you interact with it by just talking into whatever chatbot you want to. You can connect it to Slack, Discord, Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, iMessage, like anything you want. John, you got a question? You there? John? You no Mike?
Somehow he's got no mic. Technology's great when it works.
Maybe text your or chat in the chat if you got a question. Move on. Let me know if you fix your mic. So I think the powerful part of OpenClaw is again the multi-agent workflow. I'll give you an example of something
Hold on,
that
Jake. I think I'm here. You got me?
Oh, you're here? What's up, John?
Yeah. So you said this thing's making changes to your CRM. Are you saying, hey, I want my CRM to do this? Go do it? Or do you say, hey, I want my CRM to do this? What's your plan? And then you go do it.
I don't know for sure. I haven't started utilizing that all that much. I set it up, but I haven't utilized it that well. What I have done is it's gone and scraped my whole CRM and given me a report on just how badly it's set up and what it needs to like be set up better. And you have all these workflows, but they need to be different. And here's your context. It can say who haven't you followed up with, all that kind of stuff. I think you can do the next step, which is to say, go update my CRM based on this conversation that I had with this person. It should be able to do that. It should be even able to like draft automation workflows inside of there. That's at least what I've read that it can do with Go High Level, but I don't know because I haven't really done it yet. I'll give you an example of like how powerful this is to be able to chat over Slack. Last weekend, I was skiing with my kids, and I wanted to see if I could build a scraper that scraped records in Dallas. Not that I was going to use it, but I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I texted into Slack and I said, build me a bot scraper that scrapes all of the pre-foreclosure, tax sale, and probate records into a Google sheet. That's all I said. And it just went off and did it. It built a bot scraper that and created a Google sheet inside of my drive and started scraping it. I had to answer questions. I had to like give it feedback. It got stuck. You have to work with it because it's not 100% autonomous. It's going to come back and ask you questions and say, "Oh, I got stuck on this. What should I do?" But literally while I'm on a chairlift, while I'm in the gondola, over the course of a couple hours, just texting with it every once in a while, it started doing it and built a bot scraper. That's how powerful this stuff is now. So you have a OpenClaw server. I think the best way to do this to start with is to use a VPS. The company hosting her actually has a like one-click deployment. Don't do what Bob did. He clicked on the wrong button. So I'm going to show you. I should have done this in the last
Clicked on it
meeting.
three times, three different
Bob,
buttons wrong.
Bob wouldn't have gotten lost. So this is a VPS, which is a virtual private server. You don't need this one. You need the cheapest one. It's $7 a month. And you can run an OpenClaw instance on it. I'll give all this to Paul after the meeting. You can like send out the links and stuff. But right down here, this button gets started. It says OpenClaw AI automation pre-configured for you. So you just click this button and it will install OpenClaw on a VPS and you can start following the prompts on there to get it set up. I would highly recommend that you go watch some YouTube videos before you do that, just on what OpenClaw is, and you can see more about it. I'm trying to cover the very basics of it, but I definitely watched several hours of content on OpenClaw before I started using it. Yeah, Frank, go ahead.
Jake, how long does that how long will that carry you as opposed to going and getting something like a Mac Mini?
I have both. I have both the virtual server and I have the Mac Mini. And the way I thought about it is, I thought I'm pretty tech savvy, but this stuff is beyond me in terms of some of the things that I was having to set up, and especially on the security side, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so the VPS is just the most secure because it is not on your own network. There's no way that somebody can hack into your network with a virtual private server. There's downsides to it. You don't really have true browser control on the VPS, but that is the true browser control on your main computer is the number one attack vector for getting hacked through this, right? If somebody has your main computer and they have browser control, they could literally go to your password manager, log into your bank account, and transfer money out of your bank. And so I never want to give it access to my bank accounts. I never want to give it access to anything that's super sensitive. And definitely don't put OpenClaw on my main computer. I have it on a separate Mac Mini. If you want to start the Mac Mini route, that's totally fine. I think honestly, the security features are getting better every day. They're working on it and trying to close those attack vectors. But I was like the Wild West on like day 3 when I was installing this, and I thought I'm just going to put it on a VPS to be absolutely super safe. Does that answer your question? Cool. OpenCloud, this is the website, openclaw.ai. If you go here and you want to install OpenClaw, it is literally a one-line install. This is the one line that you install, but you would install it inside of a terminal. If you don't know what a terminal is, here is the terminal on your computer. It looks like this, right? It has, and you start entering in text commands. For a lot of people, this feels kind of daunting and overwhelming because they've never worked in the terminal. It's like going back to the 80s and MS-DOS days, but you will have to do some stuff in the terminal, sometimes to fix things, to install it. When you start installing hosting, you're going to see this terminal. So know what the difference is between the different interfaces that you're working with. This is the terminal. You would also have the chat interface. So if I'm on Slack and I'm like Marcus was converting my presentation for me into a Google Doc to send out later. My history with Marcus, like I'm interacting with him. He gives me a morning report of my email highlights, my schedule from my Google Calendar, ClickUp tasks that are overdue, project status, the weather. My weather was broken this morning, which was frustrating to me, but it'll tell me the weather and where I'm traveling to. Yeah, that's really helpful. From there, I can say, draft email responses to those emails and leave them in my inbox. I can say, change that appointment on my calendar from this time to that time, create a new appointment on my calendar for this. I can say, go in and change these ClickUp stats. All of those things I can do straight from my interface in Slack, or if you're in Discord or WhatsApp or whatever it is that you're using. I created this menu of options of things that you can do with OpenClaw as a real estate operator.
Hey,
So we'll
Jake,
give this out. Yeah.
you have a specific Slack just for your bot, or is that part of your team Slack?
It's actually an app inside of Slack. So if when you set it up inside of Slack, it's as an app, not as a person, if that makes sense. It's just a different feature inside of Slack. But yeah, it's like it functions essentially just like messaging somebody else on your team, and you have different threads. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay with Slack long term. I'm going to try some of the other options. I think there's a chance that maybe Discord is the best, just in terms of the way that it organizes the threads of the conversations and stuff. But I don't know. John and I are kind of comparing notes on that right now. John Heisler's been, for you guys who don't know, John Heisler and I've been talking about this like every single day since it came out because we're both using it a lot. So this will get sent out. We've got a whole bunch of different kind of business automations that you can create with OpenClaw, and then things, personal productivity, health, all that kind of stuff. And there's 100 of them in here of just ideas to use for OpenClaw. I think that I'm not going to go through all those, but I think that OpenClaw has the ability to turn a one person operation into in real estate into a what would have been like a team of 5 to 8 a couple years ago. There's so much stuff that you can do in terms of lead generation, lead follow up, as long as you still have a good human being on the phone to close those deals. Like I think so much of the rest of the business can be done, through automations and through agents, with a small VA team. So we'll send this out to see where we're at. Some terminology that you might run into: MCPs, APIs, CLIs. These are all kind of different terms for the same thing. Is like, how do we link these things together? And whether you're using Claude Code or you're just in a Chat GPT, if you're comfortable with the AIs knowing all your stuff, which I kind of crossed that bridge a long time ago, they're just going to know all my stuff. Integrating into all of your different platforms is one of the most powerful things that you can do, because now you can start searching across all of those different platforms, pulling context from all the different platforms, etc. Vibe coding, vibe marketing, those are just the terms for typing into an LLM or Claude Code or whatever in normal English, and then the AI writes code on the background, or the AI creates your marketing plan and your images and all that kind of stuff on the background. We're back to OpenClaw.
Jake, I know we're kind of running out of time.
I know. Yeah, we're out of time, so
We can certainly do more of this conversation, but I felt like it would be, if we're going to run over, maybe give like, I think the first thing you said is just, the hammer and the nail. It's like you don't just grab a hammer and go look for things to hammer. So some of the things that we got, a lot of wholesalers and off-market people and flippers and people who do stuff like that. So what, or raise money or whatever. So from your perspective, I saw what you said, like some of the best use cases, one of the things I jotted down were certainly automating client communication, or just, I guess my first question is how is that different from um, like a MailChimp automated, because like that's already being done, right? Like you can do stuff like that.
sure.
But there's other things like underwriting and estimations. Like what are some of the most practical use cases
Yeah.
you're seeing for flippers,
And
wholesalers?
to your point, there always needs to be a cost benefit analysis of whether or not you are using an off the shelf product versus creating your own, right? And so we are in this world where you can use AI to like create anything that you want, but if you've got MailChimp and it's working and it's been working for you for a long time, like why would you spend time fixing that unless it's costing you way too much money and you need to have cost savings? So yeah, resource allocation stuff, you can't do all of it. So figure out what is the most impactful and what's the biggest lever. And I think it gets back to the operational excellence and really reviewing, okay, where are the constraints in our business? Where are the big gaps in our operational excellence? How can AI fill in that operational excellence and either attack the constraint directly or free up resources that can be reallocated to the constraint? And I would
Yeah.
put it through that filter first. So to answer your question, it depends, right? Like what is going on in your business? What exactly kind of business are you running? I think it can certainly help with lead generation in terms of building the kind of bot scrapers and all that kind of stuff, gathering, analyzing your data and like making sure that you are pulling the freshest leads possible, right? If you can pull the eviction list and then hit those landlords the very next day, that's a pretty good list. That's really hard to go buy from somebody. It's super easy to create for yourself, right? So I would think about that in terms of lead generation and marketing. If you have gaps in your follow-up, whether or not you're using another tool, you should be using AI to create all of those follow-up campaigns. Nobody's going to beat you. Like some of this stuff, like, yeah, is it AI slop to create a follow-up campaign with AI? Maybe, but I'd much rather have some sort of follow-up campaign than where like most people just have huge gaps in all of their follow-up, right? Um, I think in terms of gathering data and having clear data, to me, like that's what I get excited about, but it's probably my own bias because I think data is cool and like creating dashboards is cool. I think a lot of visionary CEOs don't get excited about that, but man, is that helpful? If we're not making data-driven decisions, then what are we doing? And so being able to like actually pull data and put it into a digestible format, whether that's the AI giving you a daily report about what's going on in your business, that's huge, or whether it's like creating a custom dashboard where we're pulling in KPIs and doing the full thing.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything? Or Jake?
Yeah, Jake, I got a couple questions here. I got a 12-year-old kid who like loves this stuff and wants to do it.
Yeah.
I hear you talk, and this is my second time hearing this, and I'm more confused than I was when I heard it at
Oh
first.
shit, I need to do a better job then. I'm sorry.
No, trust me, it's not you. It's all this guy over here for sure. This is just like not my wheelhouse at all. Uh, I guess what could I do? What could I give to him so he can go out and just mess around and learn, not to help me out. I mean, A, to help me out, but also so he can learn how to do this because I feel like everyone's going to need to learn how to use this.
Yeah. I guess it's like what skills does he want to use or what tool does he want to start with? I would say right now the best all-purpose tool is Claude Code. Being able to have Cowork and Claude Code and access to the latest models from Claude, that is the best all-in-one solution to do stuff. Because you can have projects, you can have custom projects that have all those system instructions and context. You can have the skills that you create in there, and you can start doing really powerful stuff. So if he knew how to do that for you and you could define the problem and say, hey, we're trying to do this in our business, and he knew Claude Code really well, I don't think you need a whole lot more than that to get a lot of really cool stuff done.
Okay. Is there any like YouTube videos he can watch, or is it something he can just go there and kind of mess with and learn? He's smart. He's really good with stuff like this.
I think it's both. I think watching the YouTube videos gives you the context for what is possible, but then you got to just go in and start fiddling with the knobs and playing with it. So I watch a lot of content to get inspiration of like, okay, what are the best in the industry doing with all this stuff right now? But sometimes you things change so fast. If you try to go follow some tutorial on how to do something, you're like, oh, that's 6 months old. Like that's not even what's going on right now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna get him signed up today. Secondly, I have a podcast on my commercial real estate journey. I've done a terrible job of promoting it. I don't think anyone here even knows I have one. What could I use from AI to like help my podcast out? Not only like on the marketing side of things, but what could I use from AI to make my podcast better, promote it,
Yeah.
all of the above?
I mean, I think first would be to start with a really good prompt, or like mine is the orchestrator skill, which is a fractional CMO. And I would just say, here's the link to my podcast. Here's what I'd like to accomplish with it. Give me a full plan and analysis and ask me questions and tell me your assumption, that whole thing. And give it back to me. That's how I would start with it, and then start picking apart that plan and going, okay, well, I resonate with that. I don't want to do that. What are some things that I could actually implement? And then you could have the AI start then implementing it.
Okay, so use it like as a coach.
Use it as a coach. Yeah,
Okay, and that was Claude. You
it's
said
like
Claude Code.
yeah, or any of the LLMs would do a decent job with that.
Okay.
I've seen Claude build much better business plans though than Gemini or ChatGPT lately. So
Okay, yeah, I got the Chat GTP now. I should just schwack that and just replace it with Claude then.
It depends. Like if you're really committed to the ecosystem of ChatGPT, then stay with. I still
I use
keep
it as
mine because
Google
I
pretty
have a whole
much.
bunch
Like,
of
hey,
stuff in
why is
there.
this hurt on my body? You know,
Yeah,
like that's it.
yeah. Then I would switch to Claude for right now. It's really
Okay.
the best, and they're really focused on business and enterprise customers more than the other models. So,
Cool.
We did that. We did that, John. We just switched everything over.
yeah. I know we've
Travis,
gone
you,
over,
you got
but
any
I can
comments?
hang out for a while if people have more questions.
Man, I've got a lot of questions, but it'll be another conversation for another day, more so on the distressed property. I think you called it bot scrapers and
Uh-huh.
pulling the different lists. I think that's something very powerful to utilize, but not exactly sure how to attack that in one question.
I mean, I guess I would just to kind of give context on it, I think about it in like three different ways. Is one is like how do you be a better thought leader, thought partner with the LLM when you're just interacting with it on a daily basis. Two would be like how do you build workflows and multi-agentic workflows with skills and agents and all that kind of stuff. And then three would be how do you build custom software solutions for what it is that you want to do. I don't think you have to do all those things. Like not everyone has to jump on the bandwagon and go do all of those things. I don't think everyone should jump on and get on OpenClaw. It's a little bit technical to get this to work and get it to work reliably and all that stuff. There will be new versions of this coming out. Like Steve Trang just announced that he's going to build an AI agent. I'm excited to see what that is. There's more versions of. There's a company called Twin.io. There's another one called or Twin.ai, I guess, and there's another one called Lendy.ai. And these are more kind of off the shelf build custom agents to do things for you. But all of these companies are coming out with multi-agentic workflows. Perplexity just launched today for Max subscribers. You can have multi-agentic workflows where they'll spin up multiple agents underneath it with different models. Like their orchestrator will pick the right model for each different task and use different models for everything. So everybody's rolling out, Claude has theirs. This is what the landscape is right now, and what it's gonna be is multi agents, and that's gonna be the buzzword of this year. So don't feel like you got to jump on building doing that right now. There'll be easier versions coming out. If you're talking about building the bot scrapers and stuff like that, has gotten pretty easy. I don't know. Maybe we could do a follow-up meeting where we just like build a piece of software live or something, with everybody, and you could kind of see how you do it.
That's definitely valuable. Just show it to me. Like, let
Yeah,
me see how you do it.
yeah.
Go, Frank, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Paul. No, I said two questions. Jake, is this what your coaching business is going to be built around?
That yeah, we're changing it from a coaching business into an AI implementation business.
Okay.
So I'm putting up job postings this week to hire like an actual legit developer coder on the background, someone who's really familiar with all of this, someone who's really familiar with security protocols, and all the latest AI. And we're going to build a business around going in and helping small businesses implement this stuff in their business, like actually setting up a server for them, building a portal, having, building agents for them, all that stuff.
So that might answer my second question. I was just thinking to myself, I could go through all the effort of learning all this and doing all this and building all this, but maybe it makes more sense to bring someone onto the team that this is their role.
Yeah, I sent a memo to my team 3 years ago, and nobody understood what I was saying. I said in the future, in the near future, there will be a role on every single company that is like director of AI operations. And whether that in the beginning, that probably needs to be you as the business owner so that you can understand this well enough to know what it is that you should be deploying. But certainly for medium to large businesses, that is now a role. And you're going to have more and more people being hired to implement this stuff in businesses, and more I was just surprised to see in the landscape that there was nobody really doing this for like our community, for real estate operators. No, there's tons of AI automation consultancy companies, but nobody who really is doing it for real estate. So anybody else have any questions?
There's just one comment I was going to make too, Jake, is like, you showed how much content, like the speed at which it can create content. Like in my application, we're really trying to document the business with SOPs, and that's how I'm using it right now.
Yeah.
And what I've immediately realized, and it sounds obvious in hindsight, is like the speed at which it can create the information is very different than the speed at which your team can implement the information.
100%.
So like I made this mistake and then quickly corrected it, where I was just like, look at all this stuff. Like, here's all these checklists, here's all these SOPs and job descriptions and roles and responsibilities and flowcharts. And I had to be like, hold on, like you have to meter that information because your team immediately just gets very overwhelmed. It's like, this is a lot of stuff. Let's take it like week by week. And just so that's maybe the comment that I want to make from my
For
experience.
me,
Like,
the way I organize this, I have a specific folder on my drive that's called Claude Output. And so everything that gets created by my AI that I'm doing goes in there. And then the things that are completed, that are part of our actual business, that get moved out of there and put into the other folder. So that's just the way that I keep it clear in my brain of like, this is their actual drive and all of our documents, and here's all the stuff that I'm doing AI, and don't assume that all of this is what we're doing, because this is iterative all the time. So
it's kind of like a database in a way. But no, I just had this analogy. If it's like running off of a treadmill onto like a really slow treadmill. It like people are the constraint in that. Like you can't ask everyone to just immediately like, all right, let's implement all this stuff now. You have to meter it. So I don't know. It's
but I think more and more our role would be that we are there as the as quality control, as tastemakers, as setting the strategy and the vision. But we're not creating anything unless it is providing tons of value to do that, right? Like I still want to write. There's still things that I write, and I don't have AI write things for me. Sometimes AI writes stuff for me, but there's plenty of times when I'm actually doing the writing, because that has more inherent value than the AI getting that thing done. But for all the other stuff, I don't know. I'm probably going to create less and less of all that work that needs to be done. And I think people on my team will move more into the role of like quality control and director.
Paul, kind of touching on what you talked about, it, I think goes back to an earlier point, which is AI can do some of that work, that knowledge work, but the ability to digest that knowledge work is almost probably more important than even implementing, right? You're talking about the implementing side with the SOP, but it's even like if you haven't thought through the SOP, then it's much harder to adopt and implement, right? You almost have to take the thinking activity first, like Jake is talking about the writing. If you write it, you remember it. If someone else writes it and you have to study it, it takes a lot longer
yeah,
for
no
that
doubt.
process to take effect. So it's almost like breaking it down into those three components, right? Creation, thought, ingestion, and then action.
Yeah, I mean, humans still need training, and
Yep.
their adaptation rate is much slower than a computer generated prompt now, which is
I'll say
crazy.
though, my agent is helping with me that a lot by giving me a organized review every day. So along with that daily digest review, I also get what's called an ops check, and it's what is everything that we've created. over the last 24 hours, Google Drive links of everything that's been created. So I can go in and review and I can give feedback like right there live and say, no, you're off track, do this, blah, 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 whatever. So if it's really important to create the structure of the review process, I think, or else you're just creating a bunch of stuff to create stuff and it's meaningless. It's just
Yeah.
wit. It doesn't matter.
Well, I was just going to type in the chat, valid versus useful, you know.
Yeah. What's up, John? You got another question?
Yeah, I got a question here. I thought Jesse Bibby was going to hop on. I've been helping him out with like crazy title stuff
Yeah.
where a lot of it is heavy research on people, right? Like we're manually going in, finding this person,
Yeah.
we're searching obituaries, we're making family trees. They're
Are you
going
in
in,
Logan's thing?
same stuff. Yeah. Do you think there's a viable
For
way
sure.
that AI can do that?
I've got a meeting in 10 minutes with a guy who's one of the original people in Logan's group, and we're building out an AI tool to scrape deeds and all that stuff. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'll have Jesse reach out to you then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think it's also worth mentioning that the speed at which this is taking place and like the speed at which you can now implement this is probably going to, you tell me if you agree with this, Jake. It's an advantage until it's not. You know, it's going to have this kind of like curve, I would assume. It's like the internet. Like
Yeah.
once everybody's using it, everybody has that advantage.
But
And
nobody, but that's, I think the way I would push back on that, that's true. But 84% of people have never even used AI once.
sure,
And then of the people who have used AI, the vast majority of them have only ever used it as a kind of advanced Google search.
sure.
And the vast majority of business owners, where whoever you're competing against, have no idea how to implement this stuff. So I think it's moving so fast, and it's easy for me to have the perspective of that we are behind the curve, but we're still very early adoption.
Right. Well, and that's, you know, that's what I think of when I think of this. It's like the idea is the innovators and the early adopters are going to use this because it's cool. But until you get into this phase here, which is like early majority, late majority, what they're looking for is safety. They want to see that other people are using it.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is like, yeah, eventually the curve flattens though. Like everybody gets to the point where most people now are using it and implementing it. And I just think I'm still a firm believer people do business with people, relationships, like, and
It's one of my filters is that it has to improve customer intimacy,
sure.
right? Like that intimacy word is important. Like it has to be a support for you to build better relationships, not trying to build relationships without you.
Well, yeah, and the case in point for that is we had a meeting just now on AI with a bunch of AI bots trying to get into this meeting to scrape the meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the computers are listening to computers telling them things about other computers, and it's like I still want to go grab a beer with Jake, like, and that's how I'm going to do business. And I think, you know, it's just important to remember that this is just a tool. And like, I still think there's probably a correlation, but by the more AI gets implemented across our businesses, the more we're going to crave that human connection.
For
Um,
sure.
so it's just like being careful to not to strip out the why people are people. You know, we're not computers and we want to do business with people. And there's nothing that turns me off more than when I see somebody making social media posts that were fully prompted clearly by their AI. Now, I get it. There's some applications where that makes sense, but it's
Do you
like
need to let that sink in, Paul?
maybe, yeah, maybe.
Every AI post says let that sink in.
Oh, let
Yeah.
that sink in. No, when I see no fluff,
Yeah,
it
no fluff,
immediately
let that
signals
sink
to
in.
me. But no, it's just this is such a cool tool, and I think yeah, it's worth using, but not to the detriment of the human connection that is like what makes life and business so exciting to me, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
All right, well, part two maybe in another month, and we'll probably be talking about a completely different tool at that point. So, also, you know, Jake may not pitch himself, but I'll pitch him for you guys. If you want somebody to help you with this, reach out to him. He's you're probably catching him at the early stages of this, so he may you may get a better price on it now. I don't know, Jake, but reach out to him if you want some help with some of this stuff. He's a great asset.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, y'all. Let me know how I can help. See ya.
All right.
Thank you, Jake.
Bye.